All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today we're breaking down a highly charged, wildly viral Los Angeles mayoral debate that literally hijacked the attention of national commentators. And you might be wondering, why? Well, because it showed exactly what happens when local politics collide head-on with reality television energy on a live stage. This isn't just an LA story, guys. It's a stark preview of the new, highly aggressive era of modern campaigning that's starting to sweep the country. We're going to look at a specific breakdown provided by a prominent conservative YouTube channel, LV Nation, to see exactly how this clash unfolded and why it's making waves far beyond the city limits.
To make sense of all the chaos, we've structured this explainer into 5 key areas. We'll hit the overarching viral dynamic, the intense dispute over wildfire responses, a really revealing moment on non-citizen voting, the stark divide on homelessness, and finally, we'll ask if this unhinged debate style is actually the new mandatory blueprint for political campaigns.
First up, the general atmosphere of the night. This is where reality TV truly met local politics.
The source channel for our analysis today, LV Nation, paints this debate as an absolute, quote, pure collapse for the incumbent, Mayor Karen Bass. They lavish praise on challenger Spencer Pratt, who brought this remarkably aggressive receipt-pulling style to the stage. It's basically modern internet culture debate strategy brought to life. Pratt, whose own home and his parents' home tragically burned down in recent wildfires, brought an incredibly personal and confrontational energy. According to the commentator analyzing the footage, Pratt's approach thoroughly exposed the institutional candidates, both Mayor Bass and Councilwoman Nithya Raman. Instead of relying on rehearsed talking points or, waiting for his turn to speak politely, Pratt repeatedly interrupted, demanded immediate answers, and directly accused them of sheer administrative failures. He just completely threw the traditional debate playbook out the window.
Moving on to our second point, the clash over wildfire responses. This is where that deeply personal anger really boiled over on stage.
The debate over these devastating local wildfires essentially came down to 2 wildly different realities. Pratt explicitly claimed that 1,000 firefighters were sitting there without engines because Mayor Bass had denied a $17 million request from the fire chief just 9 weeks prior. Adding fuel to the fire, he accused a Bass appointee of recklessly draining 2 crucial reservoirs right before the disaster. Naturally, Mayor Bass immediately pushed back. She defended her administration, stating the drained reservoir was strictly for drinking water, not wildfires, and noted 2 other reservoirs were completely full with 8 billion gallons. But her ultimate defense? The weather. She claimed that the firefighting planes were completely grounded due to hurricane force, 100-mile-per-hour winds.
So the whole factual dispute rests entirely on those wind speeds, 40 miles per hour versus 100 miles per hour. Pratt flat out rejected the mayor's excuse right to her face. He claimed that the winds in the Pacific Palisades never exceeded 40 miles per hour, and for the crucial first 6 hours didn't even push above 27. This directly challenged Bass's core defense. Then, in a moment of sheer audacity, Pratt literally turns to the live audience, tells them to pull out their phones, and challenges them to Google the wind speeds right then and there. Talk about unscripted television. He dared the viewers to instantly fact-check a sitting mayor.
And here is where the source channel's analysis gets fascinating. The YouTube commentator actually took Pratt up on that advice and pulled up an AI-generated fact-check from Grok live on screen. According to the AI data the host highlighted, sustained winds during the critical early window were only around 35 to 40 miles per hour. Relying entirely on this real-time search, the commentator decisively accused Mayor Bass of intentionally lying about the 100-mile-per-hour winds just to cover up her administration's logistical failures. It's a pretty wild look at how modern audiences and commentators are using real-time AI tools to instantly bypass traditional media fact-checkers. But Pratt wasn't just up there to throw rhetorical bombs. He actually laid out a highly specific, if unconventional, logistical plan. To bypass municipal water failures in the future, his idea was to add 20 targeted dip sites around local communities, specifically connecting them to residential pools. That way, if the main system goes down again, helicopters have guaranteed, localized water access right in the neighborhoods. It's a fiercely practical proposal born from his own devastating experience, showing his chaotic debate style actually had some hyper-local, concrete solutions behind it.
All right, let's look at Section 3, the non-citizen voting question. This is where a hyper-local focus violently collided with a massive national controversy.
During the debate, the moderator asked a seemingly simple yes or no question: should non-citizens be allowed to vote in local elections? When pressed, Pratt answered, "No, well, it depends."
He injected a very specific nuance here, clarifying that the term non-citizen doesn't automatically mean undocumented immigrants. He pointed out it includes legal permanent residents and green card holders, noting some localities already let them vote in specific instances, like school board elections. The YouTube commentator jumped all over this. They flagged this entire segment as highly alarming, demonstrating how a localized answer about school boards instantly triggers massive national anxiety over election integrity. For the commentator, this moment proved it's absolutely impossible for local candidates to avoid the raging national culture wars.
And speaking of culture wars, Section 4 covers the issue that generated the most intense, visceral back and forth of the night: homelessness and encampments.
Pratt threw out a massive figure to anchor this entire segment: $400 million. He cited this enormous sum, claiming it was spent just to house 73,000 people. I mean, let that number sink in for a second. He aggressively labeled the current approach an absolute failure, led jointly by Mayor Bass and Councilwoman Raman, arguing that the financial return on investment for taxpayers has been disastrously low, all while the streets have just grown more dangerous.
The ideological divide on how to fix this is incredibly stark. Councilwoman Raman championed a treatment-first approach, heavily focused on offering services, compassion, and permanent housing. Pratt, on the other hand, delivered a blistering counter-narrative. He argued that if you go under the Harbor Freeway offering treatment, you're just going to get, quote, stabbed in the neck. He aggressively asserted that many individuals on the street simply do not want beds. They want, in his exact words, fentanyl or supermeth. The YouTube source heavily amplified this specific clash, framing it as Pratt brilliantly exposing naive virtue signaling by politicians who ignore the severe, violent reality of street-level drug addiction.
This ideological clash totally crystallized around one very specific ordinance: keeping encampments away from schools and daycares. When pressed, Mayor Bass offered a straightforward yes in support of it. Councilwoman Raman, however, explained her no vote by saying she felt the ordinance's structure actually failed to keep kids safe in a practical sense. Pratt immediately weaponized Raman's nuanced answer. He demanded strict, unyielding 500-foot barriers to protect against what he explicitly called drug addicts with machetes. The commentator used this exact exchange to heavily criticize Raman, portraying her answers as dangerously far left, bogged down in bureaucracy, and totally out of touch with immediate public safety concerns.
Finally, let's step back for Section 5 and look at the bigger picture. Is this a totally new campaign blueprint?
During his closing remarks, Pratt completely ditched traditional political pleasantries. I mean, he explicitly stated he is absolutely not working with Mayor Bass, outright blaming her directly for his house burning down. Then he aggressively targeted Councilwoman Raman. Noting that Bass has all the powerful union endorsements locked up, he said he'd much rather run against Raman, openly mocking her on stage as a terrible city council member who has been a failure for 6 years. The source highlights this unapologetic, ruthlessly direct targeting as a massive breath of fresh air. They argue this blunt, high-octane honesty is exactly what frustrated voters are demanding right now. To really drive this point home, the commentator cites a viral tweet from Meghan McCain. She called Pratt's performance the definitive blueprint for how older millennials need to communicate their ideas if they actually want to win. She gave his raw talent and aggressive receipt-pulling style a resounding 10 out of 10 no notes. The source channel emphatically agrees, arguing that this hyper-combative style of communication isn't just entertaining, it's highly effective and completely necessary in our current fractured cultural climate.
Which leaves us with this final provocative thought. As local politics increasingly mimics the high-stakes, dramatic energy of reality TV, is this raw, aggressively unfiltered debate style the new mandatory playbook? Is bringing literal receipts, demanding the audience Google things live, and completely dispensing with traditional decorum the only way a challenger can truly break through the noise today? It's a fascinating shift in political communication, and one we'll definitely be watching as it ripples out from Los Angeles to the rest of the country. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and remember, keep questioning the information in front of you.